Do professional consultancy firms add any value to your PR or citizenship application? Is a topic of discussion for this video. Nowadays, engaging a professional consultancy firm to submit your PR application or citizenship application is becoming a very common practice. But many a times people do get this question: do they do something different? Do they really improve the chances, or are they doing the same thing that you would otherwise do in filing your application? And how consultancy firms improve the chances is also one of the questions people often have. Because after all, if you are going to pay $2,000 to $4,000 depending upon the firm, then is there any value addition? So this is what I am going to answer in this presentation. Now keep it in mind, before I start, I just want to give this declaration that the material that I am presenting here is based on a generally available information which is publicly available in the market and the logical conclusion that we can draw from the observations. I have not tried to seek any secret knowledge from any government agency, nor I have contacted or tried to get peek into their system and operations. So let's begin. And the first question I will like to raise here is, how does ICA processes large number of applications every year? ICA stands for Immigration and Checkpoint Authority. So in 2021 in Singapore, there were 674,000 people who were eligible to apply for PR, that is people on employment pass, S pass or dependent pass. And the number of people qualified to apply for citizenship, that is people who are already on PR, was 500,000. This total crosses 1 million in numbers. Now we don't know how many people really applied, but it is fair to assume that in Corona period, a large percentage applied for PR or citizenship respectively. That means ICA must be processing a very large number of applications, as high as 1500 applications per day. So they have to take decisions on these many applications per day. Obviously, doing it manually, subjectively, is not possible, because then they will require possibly hundreds of officers only to go through the application and decide the outcome. That means ICA must be operating some kind of automated, a score based or point based system. So when you submit your PR application or when you submit your citizenship application, technically it must be going to some database where a score is calculated for your profile. Maybe some officer also will be going through your application to check other details, and maybe he's putting some ticks here and there, and that once submitted calculates the score. It is also possible that your application may remain in that system for a period of maybe 2 months, 3 months, or even 6 months. And then in that time period, whoever applies, out of that maybe top performing candidates are selected and are given their PR or citizenship. Because ICA has a quota, ICA has made it clear that they will be releasing only 30,000 PR and 20,000 citizenship places every year. So it must be kind of a competitive exam where your points are calculated, points of all other people who applied are also calculated, and then maybe top 10,000 are approved and all others are rejected. Now moving on to the next slide then, if there is a point based system or something like that, what factors might be considered in calculating those points or in calculating the evaluation? So again, as I said, this information is based on the common knowledge, or the information is based on the logical deduction. So the factors that can contribute are so many. Actually, when you file your PR application or citizenship application, you only touch few of them, primarily from the first column: age, family ties, industry scope, salary, and education level. But there are many other factors Those might be relevant in calculating that score, and some of those factors may be actually having a small bearing, but still, if many of those points help you to score, that score might be significant. If you are applying with a family, then again all these factors will be considered for your spouse also. So now we have two pieces of information or logical conclusions. One is that there must be a point based system, and secondly, there are many factors that can help in scoring that point threshold. So the question is, what should be your next logical step? So the next logical step should be that you should think of ways in which you can score maximum possible so that your application is approved. So think of all the possible ways in which your score can be improved. That might be something which you have forgotten about yourself. That might be something that you have done in past. That might be something that you can do it now and score it immediately. For example, let's say that if you submit your application just like anybody, the way people are doing, and the score comes 50 on a scale of 100, and then in a second instance, you submit your application by taking specific efforts identifying points to improve the score. And if your score gets improved to 73 out of 100, then in that circumstances, isn't it better for you? Your chances are obviously improving. Now, obviously, one downside is that this point based system or scoring mechanisms are not publicly available. So you don't know exactly how it is calculated. But then in that circumstances, we still have to take a guess and try to improve the score in whichever way possible. Now, in the immigration circles or immigration experts who work in Singapore, especially in PR and citizenship, there are 4 or 5 different types of step sequences exist. Step sequences mean there are 4 or 5 different methods by which the score of a customer can be improved. Now, which one we use depends upon the customer profile. So, depending upon your profile, a specific step sequence will be selected for you, and you will be asked to provide specific information, or you will be asked to improve the score in a specific manner. Now, preparing well for your application, providing more relevant information, thinking through where you can score more, and taking similar steps like this is definitely known to improve the chance. This is not a rocket science. For example, if you just go for a job interview on one day, your chances might be 50-50. But if you dress well, if you research the job well, if you take efforts to show how your past experience will benefit in this new job role, if you research about the company, if you research about the promoters of the company, and if you research about their product and showcase all this in your job interview, is definitely likely to improve your success in that job interview. And the same principle applies over here as well in your PR or citizenship application. So, coming to the summary, I will list down the points that we identified or we understood here. First is ICA must be using some form of score based system to select the candidates for approval, because there are just too many number of candidates and ICA wants to do this job objectively. So they don't want that a certain person is approved just because his photograph looks good and a certain person is not approved. Now, if you score well in your profile, then approval is possible. There are many factors which are relevant where you can add points to your total score. And that list I have already shown to you. You can take specific steps to improve the score, and hence, obviously, your chances of approval will also improve. Immigration firms typically know 4 to 5 different techniques depending upon the profile of the client to improve the score. So, in summary, professional firms do bring value to your PR or citizenship application. However, Ensure to select the right one and an experienced one for your case.